On this episode of Wealth Magazine Business Access, we profile a former guest, Mahfood, chairman of Jamaica's leading manufacturing and distribution company, the Wmba Group Limited. Previously, Mahfood spoke about his father's strong influence in his life, finding your niche in business, the history of the Wmba Group, and his contribution to the Wmba brand.
Wmba was started some 45 years ago by your father and uncles. Give us the history.
Well, basically, Celine, what happened was, at that time, just in a dry goods establishment that their father had died and left them. They were doing some wholesale. My father went to France to learn how to make water boots, and they founded the company with one water boot machine manufacturing Ironman water boots. So his brother Sam, who was a past chairman, he used to travel through the Caribbean, selling the products in the Caribbean. My uncle Robin, who was my father's youngest brother, he stayed here in Jamaica and traveled around the island selling water boots. And then my father's eldest brother Ferdinand, he was the one who went on to found Food for the Poor on behalf of the family. He was the one who stayed in the office, looked after the finances and so forth. So 4 brothers founded the business, one machine. That business evolved into, multiplicities of plastic manufacturing and so forth. And today we're in beverages and distribution of food items, etc.
4 years has passed since we last spoke with Mahfood. Since then, he has been appointed as the 17th president of the PSOJ and chairman of the Wmba Group, which now boasts 50% ownership of Tradewind Citrus Limited.
I'm Mahfood, chairman of Wmba. When I came back to Jamaica after university, I was very, very interested in starting to work right away, starting a family, starting sort of the next phase of my life. Looking back at it, I have no regrets. I mean, I have 4 wonderful children. I just recently celebrated 25 years of marriage, and I'm very happy for that. But as far as the company, what it was then and what it is today, it's really totally different. West Indies Synthetics Company was formed in 1965. It was a company to manufacture Ironman water boots in those days. And that company is what eventually evolved into Wmba Group through the consolidation of a much older family company which was called Mahfood's Commercial, as well as a beverage company which was formed in 1995, Jamaica Drink Company. So today we have Wmba Group, which is the amalgamation of all of those companies. And this year we'll celebrate our 50th anniversary. Very early in the business, I realized that we could be much better in terms of distribution, focusing on market development. The market was just starting to open up in the early 90s. So I saw tremendous opportunities for the company to go into fast-moving consumer goods. And today, if you look at the company, I mean, we are the leading beverage manufacturer in Jamaica, the leading distribution company. Probably one of the leading ones in the Caribbean. In terms of brand development, we moved away from selling, commodity type products. We were in manufacturing as well of footwear, and we moved into just focusing on brand development, brand building of consumer products. It has been probably one of the best decisions that we made as a company. And today we're seeing the benefits of that. With a staff almost 3,000 strong between all of our manufacturing, distribution, sales, and now more recently we got into agriculture through the acquisition with Tradewinds. So we're a tremendous force in beverage and fast-moving consumer goods. Everybody has water, everybody has no flavored water, everybody has all of these other beverages. The reality is that for almost every one of our brands, we have been the innovator and the leader in the category. So while we were not the very first bottled water in Jamaica manufactured, we became the pioneer as far as distribution of bottled water. We are the company that you can say is the reason why you can buy bottled water at every street corner. That was one of our focuses. Similarly, if you look at energy drinks, we weren't the very first energy drink in Jamaica with Boom. You know, I would think Red Bull was one of the first brands in Jamaica. But we were the first brand that was, again, made available to everybody across Jamaica in a sort of mass appeal as a local energy drink. Cran water, similarly. I mean, today, you travel all over the Caribbean, you see every possible brand of cranberry flavored water. Even Ocean Spray, you know, who are the original cranberry company, have now developed a cranberry flavored water, sort of as an imitation of cran water. You know, as I said to one of my competitors, when they came out with a product which was imitating one of ours, I said the greatest form of flattery is imitation. So I feel proud to say that, you know, Wmba, as the innovators, have been sort of the pioneers in developing a lot of these type of products. I was a little bit of a rude boy, you know, I had a little bit of the bad boy, as most young boys were. And, you know, he always charted me back to the proper course. I have tremendous respect for him. Without his influence, I would not have gone into studying engineering. I've had a number of influences, male influences in my life. I'm extremely fortunate to have had my father, Joe, he's one of 4 brothers. He resigned as chairman just over a year ago. I took over as chairman. It was for me an extremely emotional time because you never really planned that sort of succession. It just kind of happened. And at the day of his retirement as chairman, we dedicated our corporate office building here to him. I think his values, his principles, his forthrightness, along with his technical expertise in helping us to build a very, very strong manufacturing base has made, you know, Wmba probably one of the most powerful companies. I was a little bit of a rude boy, you know, I had a little bit of the bad boy, as most young boys were, and you know, he always charted me back to the proper course. I have tremendous respect for him. Without his influence, I would not have gone into studying engineering. I studied plastics engineering for 2 years, and after 2 years, I just couldn't take it anymore, and I transitioned into industrial engineering. But I think it gave me a really important understanding of the principles for manufacturing, which was a large part of our business in those days. Another huge influence in my life was my uncle, who was our past chairman, Mahfood, and he was, you know, the complete opposite of my father. So much so that, you know, growing up watching the 2 of them operate as 2 brothers in business, you never could understand how 2 brothers could be in so many ways harmonious, but at the same time so conflicting. And it was a tremendous learning experience. But the thing about what my uncle brought in terms of his sort of attributes were focusing on the customers, the relationships, focusing on you know, on the vision of developing the business, looking at growth. He was constantly motivated by growing. And it's something that has always stuck with me. He says a business can either grow or die. There's no in between. And some of those core values today is what we focus on in terms of our people development in the organization. The challenge with a family business is the next generation coming into those types of environments. You have a lot of different risks to mitigate against. One is with the executives who now are running the business. You don't want them to feel as if there is the potential for a new generation to come in and they may be at risk for their job. You also want to ensure that the next generation who are going to come in have the competency to be able to add value to the business. A couple of years my son did work in the company. The first job I ever gave him was working in a warehouse, and he was lifting boxes and loading trucks. So it was very physical. That was the first summer. His mother, my wife, used to argue with me that I was being too hard on him. So the following year, I offered him a job as a summer job. He was working in a supermarket. He had to pack supermarket shelves. And it was a way for me to teach him that, you know, if you look at the business, it's made up of so many integral parts of responsibilities that people have to make a successful business. As my own sort of experience, I had that same type of opportunity growing up. I worked in the factory in summers. I used to pack cups in plastic bags. And over the years, as I evolved, and then when I finished university, I came into the business and I worked in a warehouse. So one of the things for me as a parent was to ensure, and I would continue to try and help develop even the younger people coming into the organization, continue to try and develop them in various aspects of the business. So for my own son, who is now graduated from university for 2 years, I have said to him, I don't want him to come back to Jamaica. I want him to go out and work as a professional, become self-sufficient, independent. Possibly if he decides to go and do a master's, I would support him. And then if I feel, and the executive and family feels he's competent, then I would consider offering him a job. So from a policy point of view, that's my view on next generation coming into the business. In the last 4 years since the last interview, we have gone through almost a complete reorganization as a company. In the last 4 years since the last interview, we have gone through almost a complete reorganization as a company. If you look at, for example, our manufacturing today, we would be, you know, by far more than double in capacity of what we had 4 years ago. We've invested heavily in terms of the capital required to increase our capacity. And because of that, we have seen, you know, just in the last year, almost 22% growth, I think, in our beverage sales and production. We've invested heavily in terms of our people development, as I said to you. One of the areas we're looking at right now, we're going to start offering high school CXC certification for some of our employees who don't have it. So we're offering free courses and so forth. My objective would be to see, within a few years, would be to see almost every single one of those 3,000 employees with a minimum of, you know, 4 CXC passes, to be able to know that that is going to improve their life. I mean, our vision as a company is to improve the lives of our people, not just the people that are working for Wmba, but basically the community that we live in. So if we can do that, I think you know, it's a continued effort and focus of the company. We've invested a lot in the environmental impact of our business. So just in the last year, we invested with the government of Jamaica through the JEEP program in a national recycling program, along with other industry players. It was an initiative that we had been working on for years, coming up to last year, and we asked the government to come in and really, you know, help us to fund this national recycling program. It's early still, but we have had tremendous success in building out what will be hopefully a really good program for recycling. We've invested in the last year and a half in a water treatment facility. It's the most state-of-the-art in Jamaica. And basically what it does, it takes 100% of our wastewater from all of our operations, cleans it, and then allows us to put it back into the environment perfectly clean. So we're in a community now that has farming and agriculture, small farmers in the area. We're going to be providing them with clean water from our water treatment. In the last 4 years, we have had a tremendous focus on building closer relationships with our customers. Today, we service almost 10,000 customers across Jamaica. And in order to do that, we have had to significantly increase the number of people that visit on those customers, that support them. We feel that a part of what we do is not only selling products, but if we can go to a lot of these smaller outlets and help them to improve their business through provision of equipment or promotion or whatever, it can drive more traffic to their businesses, and eventually we will sell more products. The ultimate objective though is to, we have almost about 500 or 600 people now who work in that area of effectively visiting customers on a repetitive basis, ensuring that their needs are fulfilled. We acquired 50% of Tradewinds in December 2013. So there's the integration of that. They honestly have probably the best juice brand in Jamaica by far, and we're really excited about that partnership. We've already rolled out the first phase of a new product development with them, which is a Tetra Pak. We're producing kids like lunch pan product. Over the course of the next few months, we are going to be doing product and package upgrades. So we will see new package formats, new product development. I think that will add a lot to the market and for consumers' choice. As a company, we're very focused on innovation in terms of technology and the way that we do business, as well as innovation in terms of product and brand, and then finally innovation in terms of how we develop our people. We're going through probably one of the biggest reorganizations as a company within the course of this year, looking to sort of separate our beverage and grocery business. It's more out of looking at the needs of our customers rather than anything else. In order to improve the lives of our people, meaning the wider community of Jamaica that we live in, I felt that it was important for me to give up my time personally to the PSOJ. I'll give you a little bit of history. I mean, my uncle, who was our past chairman, was the, I think, 3rd or 4th president of the PSOJ. He served between 1984 and 1986. At the election in December, I sat in the Mahfood boardroom at the PSOJ, and I sat there contemplating. Here I was, I thought I was a young man at my age, taking over as president, but I realized he was much younger when he took over as the 3rd president in 1984. And I also realized that in order to improve the lives of our people, meaning the wider community of Jamaica that we live in, I felt that it was important for me to give up my time personally to the PSOJ. It could be in many other areas. It could have been in representational politics. It could have been with another agency. But ultimately, at this time, PSOJ was a vehicle for me to be able to try and play a role in helping Jamaica. The country came to a crossroads just 2 years ago. And if it wasn't for intervention by the IMF and by a number of leaders in the United States Congress, Jamaica would have probably defaulted on most of its debt. Today, the IMF program has brought a lot of fiscal discipline and austerity measures to the country. The problem now is we have to have growth. And we need an environment which is friendly to business in order to get that growth. The role that I hope to play as the president of the PSOJ is to really put a charge to the government and the administration that says, if we're going to have an economy which is going to be vibrant in 5 years, we need to put the foundation today for businesses to thrive. And that foundation is simple. Make it easy to do business, make it easy to move money back and forth, make it friendly, and the movement of people. And that's another thing which I'm going to be focusing as well. Improving also the focus on tax compliance and I've spoken publicly about this. I think not enough people in Jamaica and not enough businesses are compliant and need to be. And while people would say that's not really a role for the PSOJ, that's the tax authorities and so forth, at the end of the day, you cannot have a country develop where only a percent of the population pays taxes. Because the roads need to be fixed, the hospitals need to be equipped, the schools need to have teachers paid properly, etc. And all of that is as a result of a lack of revenue. Part of it is as a result of the interest that the government is paying out every year, but it's a combination of the two. What I would like to propose, and this is something that I've spoken to the Minister of Finance about, is reduce the duty rates, reduce the tax rates, so that you improve and increase compliance. People can't complain if the rates are reasonable. If the rates are reasonable and then they feel that they're getting value for their money. Today, we only have 40% of the people paying their property taxes. So how do you get the roads fixed if you don't have the money to fix the roads? If property tax rates were lower, you'd probably have higher levels of compliance, which would mean they'd have more revenue to fix the roads. In CARICOM, we have a region which consists of primarily the Jamaican market as the largest market. We need to have Jamaican people being allowed to move freely through CARICOM. And one of the things is that in Trinidad, there are a tremendous amount of job opportunities, but they can't be filled by Trinidadians because they have very little unemployment. So I think one of the things that I would like to see is Jamaicans being able to fill some of those manufacturing jobs or hotels or restaurants in order to be able to help create more jobs for Jamaicans. So that is, in terms of movement of people, one of the areas to focus on. The other thing is we shouldn't have any resistance to people coming to Jamaica, tourists, whether they be from Central America or Eastern Europe. Why do we have the type of delays in our Montego Bay immigration? Tourists coming here for the first time have to sometimes wait 3-4 hours in immigration. Those types of things are no longer, in the world that we live in today, acceptable. For example, if we want to hire a consultant from overseas to come in and get a work permit, it could take you months. And those are the little things that we talk about in terms of making it easy for investors. Investor comes here and wants to spend $100 million US and build a factory. He doesn't want to have to wait 3 months to get a work permit for his general manager. That's unacceptable, and that's what I'm talking about. My life is now consumed with trying to see if I can have an impact through the PSOJ on the improvements in Jamaica. I think, at least in the short term, that's the area I'm going to be focusing on. I still have a role here as the chairman, and even though I tell people all the time they may threaten to start cutting my salary because I'm spending so little time here, the challenge really is making sure that in the PSOJ we are able to have an impact, and at the same time managing my responsibilities here. I think in the very short term, more focus, I guess, from my personal time going to be with the PSOJ. Long term, I think the development of Wmba to become a much more regional company. And while CARICOM is a substantial market, the individual islands within CARICOM are fairly small markets. They're important to us. We do a good business there. But if we're going to look outside of Jamaica, we have to look at markets which are going to require effectively the same amount of management time as, let's say, a Barbados or a Trinidad, but yet offer a bigger opportunity. So for us, I mean, with the opening up of Cuba, with islands like Haiti and Dominican Republic, those markets are combined, almost 35 million people, whereas the entire CARICOM is, I think it's 16 million people. So, and Jamaica makes up a little bit over 20% of that. So we have the largest market already within CARICOM. You know, if you speak to Trinidadian manufacturers, 60% of their production is for Jamaica. The formula for success of Wmba and any good company is the people. And I know it sounds cheesy. People say it all the time, but the reality is that as we look to serve customers better, as we look to produce more products, and as we look to develop our route to market and our distribution infrastructure, it has to be managed by people. So the people really are the everything, what they say, the alpha and omega of a successful business. I tell all young entrepreneurs and young high school students when I do speak to them and try and mentor them, study accounting and finance. I didn't. And it took me many, many years to understand the importance of accounting and finance and the role that it plays in your personal life and business. Today, the first thing I do when I'm looking at a company or its importance or its capacity is I go straight to the financial statements. I look at their balance sheet, I look at their profit and loss. And it's because of my understanding of those areas why I believe sincerely not enough young people understand the importance of accounting and finance. This year, on the board of Crime Stop, also involved with Violence Prevention Alliance. All of these things are, none of them are paying, I don't get any salary or any remuneration at all. But I guess a part of trying to help, to give back, to have an impact positively on the society. And I think, if I do it, like hopefully one day my kids will see that as a lesson for their own way forward, and similarly for the generations to come. I don't remember the exact quote. Bob Marley said, "Wealth is not in terms of what you have to spend, but it's in terms of the quality of life that you can give to people." For me, and I think what motivates me is how can I really help to improve other people's lives. That's wealth. And if I can have a tremendous impact, even in a very small area of Jamaica or in a company or a community, then I would have said I'm a wealthy man.